Well, good morning, everyone. Before we start, first of all, I want to thank Harsha and the entire Indo US Rare team for putting together this fantastic event where we can connect and share ideas and thoughts. So that's a kind of goal. So thank you. You know, these morning sessions as a speaker are always interesting. You know, you all are caffeinated with tea and coffee and, paying full attention. So my goal is to not put you back to sleep, and I'll try my best to do that. But jokes apart, my real goal is to share with you the story of Cure ADSSL 1. It's an organization that Priyanka, my wife, and I started 2 years ago when both of our kids were diagnosed with this ultra-rare neuromuscular disease called ADSSL1 myopathy. And we want to share with you our story, our journey so far, what have we done, and where we are going, some of the challenges that we are facing on the way. And I would definitely welcome all the ideas and thoughts that's what will really benefit, through any collaborations. Priyanka, unfortunately, could not join this session today. So I guess you are stuck with the opposite of better half. I guess that would be me. I want to start with giving you an overview of what ADSSL1 myopathy is and what Cure Rare Disease is as an organization. So this myopathy is an ultra-rare condition, and it's progressive. It's a disabling neuromuscular disease, and currently there's no existing treatment for this. The early symptoms of this disease actually develop when kids are young, like 3-4 year old. Like we could see in our kids, they could not run and jump like any other kids and their peer group, but they could do most of the other stuff. But as the patients turn anywhere between 13 and 25, that's when the progression starts in a meaningful way, and you start seeing the deterioration. It leads to then eventually the loss of ambulation. It leads to impacting their swallowing muscles and all the skeletal muscles, leading to cardiomyopathy as well as respiratory function, where patients have to use BiPAP or CPAP. After a few years, the progression starts. The disease is caused by the autosomal recessive mutation in ADSSL1 gene, and hence the name. The association of the actual mutation in this gene and the myopathy was actually first established in 2016 when a group of researchers in Korea took 4 patients and they analyzed their genomic exome data, and that's where they found the link. So before this, actually this disease was not even known. And that actually reflects in our own personal journey, because for 15 years, the only thing that we knew was that our kids have some sort of hypotonia. That's what doctors did, and then we saw many leading neurologists, and we didn't know the reason. And then finally, when we did the exome sequencing 2 years ago, first for our son, that's when we found out, what the condition do they have? And then soon after that, the same thing was found for our daughter as well. Almost all the diagnosed patients are of Asian origin, and so there's a notion that this is probably a founder mutation, and with some 1 or 2 different types of mutation in the same gene. And that's when, soon after we got that diagnosis, we decided not to sit on the sidelines. We wanted to be a force behind really finding a therapeutic option for this disease. That's when Cure ADSSL1 was formed, and we are working aggressively towards, with all the passion and collaboration of that I'll share, to really find and deliver a therapeutic option, and also support along the way to the patient community, which is growing. We are based out of California, but our patient community is all over the world. Soon after we founded Cure ADSSL1, one thing that we did was to establish a patient registry, and we have done that in collaboration with Cure CMD. So through that, we are connecting all the data points. This is a visual of where the patients are, the currently diagnosed patients are for this disease. I'll start from the rightmost side. Japan has the most patients, 70 roughly. South Korea, 30 patients, 7 patients in India, and then few patients in across Germany, South America, and UK, all of our Indian origin. And then in US, there are only 4 patients that are currently diagnosed. 2 of those are our own children. So since we started, we are now connected with 14 patients directly with our organization. On the top left side, 2 siblings, those are Shani and Nimish, our children, and then that's how it started. But then as the time went on, more patients found us either directly or in many cases, one thing that we did in the beginning was we started visiting many of these top healthcare facilities in India, AIMS, Gangaram Hospital, PGI, Neemhans in Bangalore, really started creating awareness that there is such disease that exists. So if they have any patient, they can connect with us, and that's how we got connected with many of these patients. And we are fortunate that that we have building this community and bringing a collective hope that we can do something about this. For last 2 years, we have been working very passionately to bring together a group of researchers who are really eager to help and deliver and work on the therapeutic options for this disease. And we are pursuing multiple tracks, and I'll try to talk about those. And I'll just share some background on some of these names that you see on the screen. With the Cure Rare Disease, which is another nonprofit biotech, we are working on the gene therapy program, and that is currently underway. And that for the preclinical work for that will be done by Dr. Alan Becks in his lab in Boston Children's Hospital. We are working with Dr. Emma Rebelka in Victoria University in Australia. She on one particular compound which holds great potential for this disease. Working with Dr. David Mack, he is helping us really create a disease on a dish model with the starting with iPSC cell lines, and we already have created the differentiated muscles for this disease model. We're working with Dr. Matt Hall at NIH, who's helping us kind of think through what could be the high throughput drug screening program for this disease, and so on. So like I mentioned, we are working on 2 different tracks. One is the drug repurposing, and this is something that we have made decent progress on. We are at stage 3 right now. We already have the iPSC cell lines for disease model as well as control model. We have differentiated all those to to the muscle cells at Dr. David Mack's lab. And now we are in the process of doing metabolic analysis on that, and really trying to figure out what would be the disease assay, and then converting that to high throughput assay that then we can run through most of the FDA approved compound and see if one of those would have a positive impact. And we're also going to target some unapproved compounds, which through hypothesis, we hold good potential. And with respect to our gene replacement therapy program, so in this case, as we early on spoke with a lot of researchers across the globe, one thing became very clear is that this would be a great candidate for gene replacement therapy because the size of the gene itself is small enough that it can fit the AAV vector. So that's where we are working with Dr. Alan Beck's lab in Boston Children's Hospital. We now do have a mouse model, knockout mouse model, and we're working on another one. But right now we are at the stage where we are trying to phenotype for these models. And then of course there's a decent road ahead, but that's where we'll be working with Cure Rare Disease to get to the clinical stage for this. So the journey has, of course, not been smooth. We are dealing with these are some, I guess, a summary of the challenges and the barriers that we've been facing along the way. And the first and foremost is that this disease does remain underdiagnosed. Harsha mentioned that it takes, on an average, 5 years for a rare disease patient to get the diagnosis. Well, it took us 15 years, and it was a very long journey for us. And so that's one thing that we're trying to figure out. How do we work with these genetic testing companies to first add this gene, and we already done that for some of the companies here, that this gene is now in the neuromuscular panel, but also just educating the clinician that, it's probably the best way to just go straight for the exome sequencing and get the diagnosis sooner. And there are some great options now in India as well, where companies like MedGenome, they are doing a fantastic job of bringing that level of diagnosis to the Indian market. Natural history study is a challenge for us because our patients are really spread across the globe. So we are trying to figure out what could be the innovative ways where that can be done across the countries. We definitely have the language barrier. We have been trying to build connectivity with the patients in Japan and Korea, but still are facing some of the challenges. I think we just have had a little bit of breakthrough just recently, so we're hopeful that we'll be able to work with that. Not a big challenge, but to some extent, we also faced in various pockets social stigma among some patients and their families, as they really did not want this to be publicly known that one of the family member is impacted by a rare disease. But again, that's where the education is really important, that it is giving them a notion that something can be done if we are together. We did not have any of the existing cell models or animal models, so we had to start from ground zero. But with, again, great collaboration, we have been able to make good headways there. There's a limited understanding of the biomarkers of this disease because, again, nobody knew about this one until about a few years ago. So that's where we are aggressively working on really setting up the biomarkers. And there's also not a standard care guide for this. So that's another one that Cure80 is trying to establish with working with the various clinicians. And last but not the least, funding is always a challenge. So far, Priyanka and I have been just working through our personal capacity and raising some funds through friends and family. But we do know that this road is long and we will need more support. So we're always thinking through, how we could do that. So I'll just leave it with this. We are always open for collaboration. I think through collaboration only is where we are. And I think there's a lot more we can do. And the patients of rare disease and their families are definitely keen on getting to some hopeful treatment. So we'll welcome any ideas and thoughts from you. Thank you.